I started at a young age. I mean, growing up, I barely broke 100 pounds until I got to high school. So you had to be funny, or you got your ass whooped all the time. So I was funny then. I've been a performer, an actor, for most of my life. I went to college to be an actor, and a friend of mine said, "Let's go do some stand-up. Let's try it." And I said, "All right." So we actually started doing like sketch, two-person sketch, really. And so we won a couple of competitions. And then he said, let's do it one-on-one. Let's see if we can go, let's see what happens. Instead of a team, I go up by myself, you go up by yourself. And I won. So that was back in 1990. And I was like, all right. So when I transferred to UCF, I started calling around the clubs, and I was like, do you guys have competitions? Because when I was in Panama City, my first time doing stand-up was in Coconuts in Panama City. They would give you $100, $107.10, because it was 107.1. Was the name of the station that sponsored it. And I called around, called Bonkers, called the Improv. I was like, hey, do you guys do competitions? They're like, we do, but we offer you more work. And I'm like, I'm a BFA major in theater, so I don't have a lot of time to create more material. So I stopped for a long time, and I started doing audience warm-up for television shows. Nickelodeon, ABC, and I realized I'm basically doing stand-up. Like, yeah, I'm entertaining a crowd, but I'm by myself, I'm doing jokes. So when I went to American Idol at Hollywood Studios, I opened that show, and I got to perform with a guy named Rainey, Arnie Ellis, and Sean Klitzner. They're all seasoned stand-up, and they were asking me if I did stand-up, and I said, yeah, I had like 3 or 4 minutes back in the day, and they're like, well, get 15, we're going to do a show. I'm sorry, what? So on May 10th, 10 years ago, I did 15 minutes at the Tampa Bay Performing Arts Center with the Unusual Suspects of Comedy, and that's what I consider my comedy birthday. I don't consider the junior college stuff, I consider that, because I got paid, and we had a great show, and ever since then, been doing stuff. It's scary. I always tell people it's like skydiving at night. It's pretty scary, but the adrenaline rush is insane. Whether you do well or you do poorly, if you bomb or kill, you've still got that same adrenaline, like everything in your body tingles. And I remember nights doing well, and I wouldn't go to sleep till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. You start writing too, your creativity starts going, your brain is going, you're just jonesing, you're just writing all this stuff. Yeah, that's what it feels like. That's why rock stars and people do drugs. Like either they want that feeling again, or they want to come down, because it's like, I'm so jazzed. Bill Cosby himself, I think, is probably one of the greatest comedy specials. I love, growing up, my influences, I was a big Richard Pryor person, Eddie Murphy, Raw and Delirious, George Carlin, all of his specials. Robin Williams was my comedy god, though, because he was an actor and a comedian, which is what I'm an actor first and a comedian second. And yeah, Robin Williams live at the Met, I have memorized. I can drop the needle and do these bits. I loved Kids in the Hall. Loved me some Kids in the Hall. Saturday Night Live, that was always the dream, was to be on Saturday Night Live. Films, comedy-wise, Blazing Saddles, Three Amigos is like one of my all-time favorites. Cheers is my all-time favorite sitcom. I think it still holds up. I love Simpsons. The Simpsons are phenomenal. The writing is great. Yeah, those shows. Parks and Rec I watch all the time. The Office, Friends. Yeah, I love those. Do they have to be alive? No, Greg Giraldo. Love Greg Giraldo, and I thought we have a similar type, of comedy. There are some things that come out of nowhere that just kind of hit you, and yeah, I really dug Greg Giraldo. Oh man, I'd love to get roasted by well, obviously the two kings that are out there right now, Dave Attell and Jeffrey Ross, they're killing it right now with the bump and mic stuff. Gosh, Jesselnick, just because he's wrong. The stuff he comes up with is so out there, it's amazing. 2 more, let me think. I'd love somebody super clean, just to see what they would do, like a Brian Regan or a Jim Gaffigan, just to see what would happen. Gosh, I really don't know, because my my trek, I'm more film television. I got a film come out, I've got a television show coming out that I was in. So my goal is to going the other way with stand-up. As opposed to going on tour constantly and working the rooms and stuff to get bigger, I'm doing more film and television so that I get big enough that I don't have to do shitty rooms. So I'm hoping in 5 years, I'm traveling around and getting paid nice, doing good rooms, as opposed to having to go to a dive bar and no one's there and there's tons of hecklers and all that shit. So I do sketch, I do improv. I've done improv, gosh, since I was a kid. I would love to direct. I've directed theater, a lot of theater I've directed, but I've never done film directing, and I'd love to try my hand on that. I think I have a really good eye on, like I teach stand-up at SAC, and I coach, so I have a really good eye on being able to shape things, so I'd love to be able to direct and go here, boom, and then make something cool. You can find me at Instagram, comedic actor. You can find me on Twitter, comedic actor 74. Facebook, Ali Flores, comedic actor. And then I also have a podcast called Two Fat Dads, but it's spelled T-O-O, Fat Dads. And you can find us on Instagram, Two Fat Dads Podcast, Twitter at Two Fat Dads Pod, Facebook, Two Fat Dads Podcast. Yeah. Greg Giraldo's bit where he goes, how can you call New York the greatest city in the world? You've never been, unless you've been to every city, you don't know. There might be a city in Asia where, you know, there are 26 hot girls and they'll blow you for a nickel. And 2 of them are guys that give you nickels. Like, that's a brilliant joke. I love that joke. I just want them to laugh. I want them to have a good time. I want them to be able to forget about the real stuff that's going on. Like, I don't do anything political. I don't really do anything that's really heartfelt. I don't deal with, like, you know, some people do that and that's great. You know, they talk about cancer, they talk about things that have happened in their lives, and I love that, but I don't do it because I'd rather let people escape. So what I want them to do is when they leave the show and go, you know what, I just spent 45 minutes and I didn't think about anything. I just had a good time and laughed. That's what I want. Hey everybody, my name is Ali Flores. Be sure to check out my interview on acutiepie.com.